There is a free Metroidvania by the name of Momodora II, and I may be willing to talk about it right now for even longer than its runtime. Hello everybody, welcome to a new type of content I am rolling out today called, I think, Metroidvania Musings, which is going to be a bit of a longer non-scripted thing where I just go off of my notes on a topic that I'm really dying to talk about because I just, as you're experiencing now, have been struggling with getting out my more ambitious videos. I've been close to finishing my current, pretty much becoming a summer video at this point, and I love where it's headed. I love it. We're almost there, but it's just not out, and I'm like, screw it. I need to talk about games. I need to get my voice out there. Because y'all say that you enjoy hearing my voice for one reason or another, and I like to talk about games. So, holy crap. Where do I begin? I'm just gonna freestyle a bit before I start picking through my notes. Oh my gosh. So, funny fact, I have a very official Melovania list, a list of the Melovanias. They're Metroidvanias that I think fit my personal description of what a true Metroidvania is. They're the ones that I have let into my heart, I suppose, ones that I play or replay or just, enjoy. Even games as lowly as Fairy Afterlight belong to this list. I like parts of that game. I really don't like a lot of it, but it's in my heart, even if it's kind of at the bottom. There are about 20 of these games, and I will be honest, people, if you watch content about Metroidvanias, they always talk about the fatigue. There's a bazillion trillion Metroidvanias and you're forcing me to play them. Oh, no. But, I've always just kind of been excited to get my Metroidvania Academia in. That might be one of my last jokes for a long time. The manga leaked. It's over now. I read the end of that today. Maybe I'll finally stop referencing that damn anime in this channel. But I've been enjoying my Metroidvania Academia quite a lot, but I have also not been the best at balancing. This year, I've played about as many games as I have time for, which is to say, a lot. I've already played 6 Metroidvanias, and even though some of them have been my favorites of all time to some degree, we'll talk about that next time I have some free evening energy to muse about Metroidvanias. You might hear more about that. Even though there's been some amazing games and I've loved all of them in one way or another, I was starting to feel tired or just I had too much on my plate. But this experience right here really was refreshing. I think refreshing is the right word. So I bring up the canon, the Melovania canon, because the first one ever that I played is actually Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight. You may have heard of it. It hit the scene at the time where there wasn't a lot. It hit before Hollow Knight, I'll say that. It's not one of the greats or anything, but it hit and it was on the Switch eShop before Hollow Knight. And for some reason, I got it in my head. Oh, no. Okay, it came out before Hollow Knight, but I'm realizing when I bought it was 2018. We may not have, but we probably had Hollow Knight on Switch, and I think it would have been out everywhere else by then. Wow, how can I even talk on this channel if I don't know exactly when Hollow Knight came out? Anyhow, the market wasn't exactly flooded, especially on Switch, and for some reason, when I was really not sure what kind of games I wanted to play for a little while, I was I should play a Metroidvania, and this is a whole other topic, why do I like Metroidvania so much? I don't know. I have theories. I have well thought out theories on this, but I don't specifically know. But actually, my first time ever playing what I would consider a true Metroidvania was Momodora. And it's not one of my favorites. I think it's actually bottom 5 right now of the 20 that I consider part of the canon. It's bottom 5. It's not bad. It's actually really good, but it's very, very Soulsy, and I am on and off with Souls games. Sometimes I'm in the mood, sometimes I'm not. I wouldn't say I really had my Souls era yet. Hollow Knight is definitely a bit of an outlier. I respect the style a lot. I'm sure I will come to enjoy lots of them. Death's Door is really good too. I love freestyling. I can just mention Death's Door if I want to. But yeah, Momodora sank me in really deeply, and made me go this is kind of cool. And it put like Hollow Knight on my radar. Hollow Knight is Metroidvania number 2. You know, that's when things got big. I was like, I want to play these games every day forever. Like that's what happened then. Anyhow, I never used to give a shit about the fact that Momodora was, you know, patient zero or whatever, you know, started all of this. I never really cared. I was like fine on Momodora, but this right here, this really changed things. So a little bit more context. Stream announcement. This is a bonus. I was thinking, I knew that the first couple of Momodoras were short and they were like free on, what did I download this on? Itch? Is it Itch? It's not Humble. I think it's Itch. You can download them for free, the first 2 or 3 games? No, the first 2 games. The third one is not terribly long, but it's only like $10 or whatever. They're much more little than number 4, which is a bit of a beefier, like, you know, what you could expect from a $20 Metroidvania, Indievania, you know, it'll get that job done. But I knew that it wouldn't be that overwhelming to stream the whole series now that the 5th one has come out. And the 5th one looked really cool, Moonlit Farewell. I'm like, I could go back for this. I mean, we have some degree of destiny. So I downloaded the Free Fellows, and I opened up Momodora 1. And I was like, this is okay. You know, I could see like the skeleton of the action, the difficult action that I remember from 4, and, you know, the characters and the leaf and the shrine maiden, you know, it was all there. But then, you know, I played like 10 minutes. I was like, this is tough. I switched to 2, and it really just hit me in the face. I messaged some of my friends. I was like, wow, the atmosphere is here. The spirit of the franchise is here. The atmosphere and the music is here. The atmosphere and the visuals is here. There's like a strong identity here. I was just like, I feel like I'm watching a series be born. I didn't have very strong feelings about the series before, but looking at 2 and being like, whoa, just the change from 1 to 2 and seeing the color and the personality come out, I was really impressed, and I think it's a very good little game. I have a lot to say about it, the least of which is its little hour runtime is really, really smooth, and I couldn't put it down. I played right up to the first boss, and I was like full of thoughts, full of feelings, and I suppose 7.5 minutes is more than enough time of build up to what those thoughts are. So I'll hit you with those really quick. So step 1 of establishing kind of the flavor of this franchise. I've seen that Cave Story is the number 1 influence, and you can absolutely feel that here. I mean, they play almost the same in my mind, I think because they're both Game Maker side-scrollers, or maybe because Ardeen wanted to replicate the feel of Cave Story. It feels to me just like Cave Story, but it's Toho Cave Story. It's Toho Cave Story, because you're playing as a shrine maiden on spiritual quests to purify cursed lands, and you're constantly fighting belligerent women. Like, it's just like a almost 100% woman character ratio. Everybody's very cool and charming and just comes up and fights you when they run into you. It was the same way in Reverie. It's very, very Toho in that way. You just go on a little spiritual quest and do some purification and fight belligerent ladies, basically. So it's kind of the characteristics of it. I'm getting a pulse on the fictional world because I do care about the lore now. That's not essential for this part of the video, but your character is always this sort of Shinto vibe shrine maiden who fights using a maple leaf, and I think that's very fun. It's like a big meaty thwack. It's actually it's quite different based on the game. In this one here, your main attack is just like tapping as fast as you can, which is really, really fun, especially on bosses. Just, it's a quick leaf, just slap, slap, slap. It's a slower, more methodical whack of a, you know, a Souls-like leaf in Reverie, but this game, you just whap, whap, whap. You also throw, I believe these are Buddhists, the Ofuda, the talismans are, I think, Buddhist, but they're also part of this here, and also in Toho. You got those projectiles, and you got your thwacky, and you're just going on this adventure through this cursed land. The characters have this sort of generational connection, I think. I don't know all the lore yet, but it's like, it's your destiny to come purify this evil area. This evil lady is doing bad stuff. And you're actually, I didn't realize this at first. You're trying to get into the final area of the game, both by getting your item progression upgrades, of which there are three. Three that I think much more highly of today than I did yesterday. I will explain that perspective shift in a minute. Oh god, sorry. My motor skills have not been that good with the humidity. I keep typing wrong and speaking wrong and doing things like that. You're on an adventure to actually hit up 4 shrines where you pray to deities, some of which, or one of which, is actually the character from Reverie. I don't so I guess they're either like vaguely the same or they are exactly the same, but you're praying to goddess women to get holy power to get through the sub-boss women to fight the big bad woman. It's just all girls all the time and also very spiritual. So it's Touhou Cave Story, especially this one. Reverie doesn't feel like Cave Story, but this literally just feels like Cave Story, and I love it for that. So it's not a very big area. You're just going right in. You start on these Koho Plains. Koho seems like the Japan region, although some of these names are very Spanish sounding to me, so it feels a bit like a mix of Japan and Spain, unless the person making it has a loose grasp on naming techniques. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. But yeah. That's where you are, and you're going through the spooky area. And if I am to start digging into this, I mean, you're like, yeah, cool, it's a Metroidvania. What's so cool about it? It's that, like, you know, you can tell that this is a less experienced developer. Like, there are some things that don't feel great, and I can rattle them off now. Like, you know, your maple leaf is very short. So sometimes if you're hopping to hit an enemy in the air, it just doesn't feel very good. The enemies have very small hitboxes. Hurt boxes? They have small hurt boxes, and your hitbox is very small with the leaf, so it doesn't feel very good. There are other minor moments where I don't feel like the polish is all that good. I mean, collision damage just feels like shit, but I guess, you know, what else is new? There aren't many other glaring things. It's not... You know, there aren't like gigantic examples of, you know, inexperience, but you could tell it's not the most veteran project in the world. But despite that, the atmosphere is so good. The atmosphere is amazing. As you travel through the plains are fine. They're kind of cool. You can see on the thumbnail, and I'm sure you've been watching mostly footage of that. They're just like, you know, hills, rocks, some stuff. You've got some frozen enemies, which I think is really cool. That didn't really get described, but it kind of gave some flavor, and those are enemies from the first game, which builds this feeling of series that really, really hit me with this game. I play it and I'm like, yo, this is a tiny little project somebody made. In my, you know, in the scheme of things, to me it looks very small. I'm sure it was a gigantic undertaking, but they managed to really make me feel like they have a series in their hands with this. You know, seeing those enemies from the first game Frozen, I'm like, whoa, I know those guys, and I know them from Reverie too. Like, whoa, fan moment. But yeah, you go through the plains, you work your way upstairs, and you get to the Mint Edge or something, the Mint Ridge. I've been calling it like the Highlands. It's the most middle area where the most different areas kind of connect to, and the music is just really good. I would kind of describe what I like about these songs as a sort of Metroid quality, at least like the Planet Zebes games, where a lot of the classic melodies come from, like Metroid 1, where you've got like Brinstar Depths, and then I guess Meridia probably started in Super Metroid. So, you know, Meridia is a really strong melody. Brinstar Depths, Norfair song. You know, the melody does so much to create this kind of atmosphere of being someplace. I mean, you know, with Metroid, it's a bit claustrophobic and grand. I think you can really feel that sense of being up on a mountain, especially with the Mint Ridge song. Sorry, I forgot. I always have an approximate knowledge of place names. It's just never a priority to memorize them. It reminds me of what I like about Axiom Verge 2, which is the up on a mountain, up on a rocky cliff atmosphere. There are multiple songs that much more advanced, elaborate songs in AV2 that accomplish a similar amount of atmosphere as this more simplistic. I don't want to insult them. I'm not musical. I know a lot about music, but I don't know enough about soundtracks to be like, this is an amateurish song for an amateurish project. It's just, it's not the longest or most complex thing. There aren't vocals, the way that there are in Axiom Verge 2. Point of all that is a really cool, just kind of wistful, adventure-y feeling. I only really get it from Metroidvanias. I only really get it from these two. And that's the song, it got stuck in my head after my first just 17 minutes or whatever. I was like, that's a really good song. And it doesn't let up. You've got a kind of more dark, spooky cave to the left, but then another area is a really, really dark cave where you have the visibility is low. You just have basically a circle of light around your character. And this is really where it starts to hit, because you aren't going anywhere terribly different for the first three areas. Plains, Ridge, the deeper bluey cave after you beat the first boss. You can see how they're all related. But this area, I was just on Momodora Wiki last night looking at the name. It's like I think it's Italian, so spare me. Again, Italian, is this, what is Coho? Coho feels like an Italian, Spanish, Japanese area. It's just got this kind of fun, spooky atmosphere song. Everything is dark, and all of the enemies are different. Every enemy is different. So as soon as you get in there, it just feels like you're in a very different place. And then the final area, before like the end game, which is more or less just a spooky cave, not the craziest atmosphere, but also not really criminal either. The last like major area is this mansion. It's the something manor. And that was when I was like, fuck, like, I didn't expect to see that kind of vibe, because I believe in this world there is a separate area called Karst, which is more of like a evil, haunted, Puritan Europe kind of vibe, very Dark Soulsy. That's what Reverie takes place in. You've got like a church that gives kind of Jesus-loving vibes. You've got nuns, you've got knights, for example, so it feels very European maybe, and it's all mansions instead of like the wild, I suppose, like the caves and stuff. It's just more like this could be a church kind of vibe. And then the manor is kind of like that. The manor is you get hit in the face all of a sudden with what I associate with Momodora IV, Reverie Under the Moonlight, which is just creepy manners, because like the vibe in Karst in Reverie is so strong and so thick that like I don't play that game. Like it's actually a bit spooky. Like I've adopted a lot of spooky games, but Karst is like so atmospheric and so lonely and sad that like I don't love playing it. And even in this game with a more simplistic art style, the song, the enemy choice, as soon as you get there, it's like, whoa, like even from here, even from Momodora II, they have this feeling on tap. Like they can go right there. They can take you from literally caves and cliffs to a mansion in the middle of nowhere and sell you on it, because the atmosphere is just so good. It just looks good, feels good. They have a real good touch with the enemies in there too. There's like a maid sweeping up skull evil clouds to hurt you. It's just look, Butler that looks like the dream YouTuber guy. It's just immediately hits you in the face. But I can't even start talking about the enemies yet. There's so much else to get to. Before I talk about the Metroidvania bones of the game, like the map and why I think it's a really good map and that sort of thing, I first want to talk about just the flavor a little bit more. I've described the fact that, there's these different areas that link into each other in a very natural way, I will go on to say later, and they go from this cave, craggy cliffside vibe to a cave, to a manor, but what's really special about this is I think half the Momodora flavor and half just like, this game is cute. Like, my favorite thing is your health upgrades that give you a bonus heart are love letters. How have I never seen love letters in any other video game, everything since Zelda, and probably since that niche NES game that I don't know before Zelda, has used hearts for its health. And you get like pieces of heart, that kind of thing for upgrading hearts, heart-shaped, like crystals, that kind of thing. Why have there never been love letters? You're not giving them to anybody. There's no romance in this game. But what you find are it's like 8 of them, sorry. You find like 8 love letters, and they're pink and they're cute. And when you pick them up, they say something that I'm kicking myself for not memorizing. But it's like, you open up the love letter and you are like, you are assailed or something like that. Like you are besieged by words filled with love and affection or something like that. It is poetry. It's one of the nicest single lines of flavor text that I can even reference. Like, it's so fluffy and nice, and it just it hits really good. Maybe something just kind of fluffy and cute sits kind of well in this atmosphere that's just, craggy, more or less. It's not even if the characters are cute. I mean, cute by merit of being small, round, and girly, I suppose. They're also cool. The bosses are cool and everything, and everybody's got a bit of a cool sense of will and duty to them in this series. It's not like a kawaii game or anything, but those love letters are fucking kawaii, and yeah, they just jumped out at me. I'm like, this is epic. Like, this is so fun. I just really, really vibe with the love letter decision. And everything else that is like that not only is charming on its own, like I've never seen a love letter in any other of my one Momodora game that I've played. I don't think it's a series staple, but there are series staples that are really well represented here, like the maple leaf, right? Like I was mentioning, your sword is a maple leaf for the majority of the game. I will talk about that later. The maple leaf is a big symbol of the various heroes, and when you start up the game, it's this nice, elegant, just black screen with the maple leaf. It's very confident. You open it up, just a simple square window, which I must admit is actually a bit frustrating to work with. I can't click it. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it's a very elegant in presentation. It's just black, and there's the leaf, and it's like, hey, Momodora II. Let's get it going. I think it's really, really impressive. And another leaf-related wonder is the double jump. The double jump, every single time you use it, just has a nice animation where a bunch of maple leaves come out from underneath you. And it's like, fuck yeah, why not? Just another thing that gives the game more of its personality. It's just, we didn't do that in 4. I'm glad I can do it in 2. It's just charming and it goes a long way. There is some other charm on the other upgrades. The 3 of them are bum-ass double jump. There's like a air dash, ground dash move, which I will just get out of the way. I don't love it. The sound design is a bit rough. I never use it in combat, except I never use it consciously in combat. It's not like a dodge roll. It's not like the phase shift thing from Metroid Dread. It's really just an awkward dash. You only use it to give yourself a tiny bit more air time, just a little bit more hang time, basically, in a boss fight. So it's like, it doesn't even feel like you're using a move so much as like, oh crap, I want to be in the air a little bit longer. It's just whatever. It's like an air dodge in Super Smash Bros. It's like unlocking the air dodge, but it's like melee or ultimate, and it doesn't really help you all that much. It's just like, yeah, it's fine. But the flavor is really, really, really good. It's called like the Star Dash, and use it to break star blocks. So pairing that with the fact that it's a late game ability is just really, really cute. Aside from that, I mentioned before that you pray at these altars to deities, which are sometimes also characters from the other games. That has such a nice animation, because on one hand, you have to kneel, or like bow, I guess you kneel, like you hold down, and you go into like this prayer stage, which is again on its own kind of unique. But like the way that all of the little fluttery things around the statue, which are there to tell you that they're important, move in and just fill up your body are just, it's so cool. It's so pretty, and I've been really impressed by it. It's just, again, another thing where it's like, wow, Momodora, yeah, spiritual power, man. Like, that's epic. I enjoy that. And then, this bleeds over everywhere. I was mentioning the enemies are super cute. There's the recurring dudes that throw blocks. One of my favorites of those are the falling block fellows. There's one room in the mint edge where I kept, every single time I went past it, I was like, I love this. Like, I'm a Momodora fan. I was just chucking my talismans at them, just shooting them like fish in a barrel, and just like something about just sitting there trying to get the right timing. I remember doing it with my arrow in Reverie, and I'm like, this is fun, just shooting these things down. It's like 9 of them to shoot in that room. I'm like, this is fun. This is a Momodora feeling. I don't know. I just enjoy it. It feels satisfying. Good sound design. Big step up over the first game. Which, by the way, I forgot. I was listing the abilities. The third, or the first rather, upgrade isn't quite so impactful. I didn't actually even realize how much it was doing for me till later. It's a Metroid reference. It's the Wave Talisman, or the Wave. What are they actually called in this game? The tag. It's the Wave Talisman, and it goes through things, which it's more useful than I thought it was on my first run. It's all right. It's just pretty much gives a nice spinning animation, if nothing else. Yeah, and those are fun. Yeah, the enemies themselves are just so precious. There's like floating lantern star guys. There are, I think, onions. The plants are cute. It's just a good art style all around. I didn't realize until I watched the credits roll and there was like the list of buddies in the end. I'm like, you were all great. You did your parts fantastically. So picking apart the game in terms of progression and map and that kind of thing, my phrase is like, I feel like I'm in direct communication with the creator, because, you know, they're taking their series and they're making it a Metroidvania, and it's just like everything is so intentional because there's not a lot of fluff. Everything you're doing is there for a purpose. It's less than an hour long. There are numerous really, really good ways that they link you out from after you get an upgrade right back to more or less where you need to be. And this is really good in my opinion because it makes backtracking later really easy. All you have to mostly backtrack for are love letters, but you probably will. And on my first playthrough, I backtracked the whole place like 7 times, and I got a little tired by the end, but it's not a drag at all. This morning I was actually studying maps of Metroidvanias because I have a lot of free time when the kids are on summer vacation, and I'm trying to understand Ori-influenced games better, even though I haven't played Ori and I don't plan to. And the thing about Ori is that it has a lot of these long areas that don't connect any place. It's not exclusively that, but there are, like, you know, I've been playing Tales of Kinsera, which is similar. And it's like if there's a long chase sequence or something, well, that's a long hallway that leads nowhere. It doesn't really build back in. And when you look at a game that has long hallways like that are just kind of a thing to walk down and do action versus a part of the larger exploration, a bit of a hallway. Castlevania does this too. I'm not just beefing with Ori. It makes it hard to backtrack. Like Symphony of the Night has a lot of hallways where you can kind of see, oh, this is just like a classic Vania level, like the chapel thing with the really overwhelmingly sad and stiff song. You look at that on the larger map, it's just a straight hallway. So to backtrack to like the middle of it, it's a bit of a drag. There's like no shortcut. But Symphony of the Night, every single thing starts and ends connecting to a different place. And there are warp gates, which do really good for that. But the point of all that is, I was looking at Hollow Knight and thinking, like, why don't I feel like there... Oh, fuck, my mouth is dry. Why don't I feel like there are areas that are a drag to get back to in Hollow Knight? Why aren't there long linear areas that stretch off from the rest of the map and just are a bummer to get back to? They're just not connected. It's because the areas are really, 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 really deep because it's like an 80-hour game, and they're bowely. They're shaped like bowels. Like they curve over and over and over each other like intestines or something in your belly. They, I guess, you know, the bowels of the city, the bowels of the dungeon. They're like, you know, curvy guys stacked on top of each other. And when you build an area with lots of boweling, you can explore each turn of the hallway and put different enemies there. Certainly Hollow Knight, every room is a different experience, but you can also build really easy backtracking and cut out a whole bunch of the bowels all at once. It's harder if you don't curve and stack them. It's like a highway. It's hard to get back out there. This game has almost nothing that isn't a part of the main clump. Everything is boweled. It's, if you spend 10 minutes in an area, you're probably going into the area, then walking left down the hall, then going up and going to the right, and then going back up and going to the left, and you pop out. And it's not really that hard later to backtrack by just going around the whole area with some more direct route on the outside. So it's very, very easy to get around. And it's, again, there's not a lot of room, so everything is either a place where you do some fighting and maybe search for something fun, or a very obvious connection to one of the other areas. I noticed that Hollow Knight never feels like things are too isolated because every area has like at least 2 connections back to other areas, where Ori has things on the map where there's only one way in, one way out. If you get really deep, you're just walking the whole thing again to get back out. None of that here. You're never very far from another area. Everything is very small and very connected. You could take this amount of surface area, stretch it out, and make it feel like things are so much more far apart, but again, very, very easy to get around, and it's fun. It's fun to do so. So it's a very, very easy place to navigate ultimately, but also fun to unravel. It's a good feeling map, and I approve. One thing that admittedly they do the guiding thing for. They do lead you straight there after you get the Star Dash. This is a spoiler, but you're never ever going to figure this out on your own because it's a friggin' cave storyism. It's the same thing in 4, and I've read that maybe it doesn't happen in the other games, but didn't like it in 4, I don't like it now. There's one of those things where you have to search up a guide to find the specific thing you have to do to get the true ending. In 4, you get a green leaf in a well. I noticed the well. I thought it was kind of suspicious, but if I was looking for suspicious things in this game, I'd be looking at the pinwheel, and the pinwheel doesn't seem to have any mystery. You have to go back to the place where you fight the first boss, use the Star Dash, and then you get the green leaf for the true ending. It's whatever. You're gonna need a guide, so you're welcome. But speaking of bosses, as one last kind of note, they're fun. There's one recurring character you fight twice, and if she is in the Goodbye Under the Moonlight game, Momodora II, I will cry. I think fighting her and realizing that she was from Karst, and she's like, I'm from a terrible place. I'm from Karst. I'm like, ain't no way that's the terrible place that the Souls-like is set in, and it is. I'm like, whoa, so that's why it's so bad. Like, series moment. Like, I know Karst. Yeah, those streets are really hard. It's just like, it makes the world feel a bit more rich. She's like a ninja, and she shoots knives, and she dashes, and I feel like there's what I'm going to call kind of like a Mega Man style here, where instead of having longer fights where enemies have a good number of different moves to mix up and switch up to maybe a different phase, both the 2 fights against her and the final boss, the final boss has 3 phases, but every phase is just repeating the same 2 attacks over and over. I feel like this is a Mega Man kind of battle where you die immediately the first time, because these attacks are really hard to deal with on their own, but you just keep doing it over and over until you understand them. Like every Mega Man boss I've fought so far, they kill me immediately as soon as I see them, but then they repeat those same 2 moves for the whole fight. So after you keep doing the brutal instant over and over again, you eventually master it. It's this like, we're gonna kill you immediately until you master this one thing. And once you master each of the 3 things or whatever she repeats, it's very easy. It's just, I feel like it's different from other bosses where like they will kill you instantly. Like it's not a war of attrition. It's either you can do it or you can't. You will just die, and you will be so intimidated the first time. So I do recommend taking some patience to that, because I think it's designed to overwhelm you the first time. Similarly, the final boss has a lot of tricks that are super scary. Once you figure it out, it's very just like rinse and repeat, and all 3 of the boss fights, it's really satisfying. You always get an opportunity, if you play your cards right, to just wail on them with the leaf, and that is just fun. Just like mash, 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 mash. Like it's just a very tactile feeling, just spanking them until they're dead. I love that. You're never gonna beat the Toho allegations. There's a phase where the witch is starting to fall apart, and she does a bullet hell attack. I think it's kind of shit because the bullet visibility is really bad. It's like a dull blue color. It's hard to even see them. So I tried to dodge them and I couldn't, and then I realized there's one place to stand. I won't spoil it, but you can pretty easily guess. There's just one place to stand that anybody could instinctively guess if they're not panicking, and you just 100% dodge the whole attack, and you just got to be sure you move out of the way before the other attack from that phase. It's not that crazy. Then yeah, the third phase shows up, kills you the first time immediately, because you're never going to know what's about to happen, but it finishes in what I dodged for about 12 turns before realizing it was a very, very fun callback to another one of the only video game series ever created. Unfortunately, one other final note is I don't think there's a max for talismans, and you're not upgrading your storage or anything, so they're a really, really fun resource to manage. I actually had a unique grind where every time I died against the final boss, I would go fight a couple enemies, get a few more talismans, and then save. And again, I've been on my Mega Man shit. I love managing resources like that. It's very rare that I have to do it in Metroid. It's kind of fun when you do, but the talismans you're going to be minding so much more because they're almost always an easy way to cheese an enemy. But it's totally up to you how many talismans you're going to have when you fight the bosses, and they help on everything except for the final boss's third phase. They help a lot for making the fight go smoother, but there's never a situation where you get a full talisman replenishment. Like the bells heal your hearts, not your talismans. There's no max. It's basically if you stick it out and use your leaf to fight the scrubs and the small fries and the small enemies, you will have more talismans for the boss. And then the boss will go easier. And if you're struggling on the boss, go grind some talismans. If you bring a couple dozen, you can get a lot of free hits in while you're waiting for their more dangerous attacks. That's true for every phase, I think. Both of the ninja fights, first two phases of the witch, and the third phase of the witch, you can't really damage her. You just have to dodge until it's over, or figure out the trick till it's over. I think the talismans are a lot of fun to manage, and I'm curious to see if they're similarly fun in other games. I didn't notice anything quite so interesting in Reverie, but I love them here, so I couldn't possibly say any more about this game. I mean, maybe I could, but I could beat the game in the amount of time that I've been talking, so I'm gonna get my dry ass mouth out of here and stop blabbering at you and go to bed. So I hinted at the stream announcement. I didn't say it, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm not gonna follow up. I was thinking about streaming the Momodora series just because it's something that I could do. I wasn't very passionate, so I hadn't pulled the trigger yet, but I played this and I was like, oh my god, I can stream the Momodora series? I should do that. So in the fall, I'm gonna do a marathon. I think it'll take all of September and then go as far into the fall as we want it to. Look forward to that. I might play 2 multiple times because I just like playing 2 so much. It's a great game. I will say I thought that it was very non-linear a day ago, or like hours ago. Then I sat down, I was like, I should probably play a little bit more before I go and talk my ass off. Like, I could make a mistake. I'm glad I did. I thought that the only powerful upgrade for movement was the double jump, because I didn't realize the wave talismans get you the double jump. I thought it was at crossroads where you can go either way. It's not. It's actually very linear. You have to go get the wave talisman to get the double jump. I was about to make a very different video. I was going to be like, this is so non-linear. It's basically just an experiment in double jumping. No, they're a lot more balanced than that, which is for the best. So it is a bit linear, but like, you have a lot of freedom to backtrack, and it's fucking fun, so who cares? So download this game, play it. I hope it holds up. Even if it's not fun for you, it was interesting for me, so haha. Let me know how you like this format. I'll keep fine-tuning it as I go. I already have topics I want to do, and I will have my summer video out soon. I'm going to be working harder to make more consistent stuff in the fall, and we will get through this, but I got my ass handed to me by this year in videos. I did a poll that was like, do you want to hear about Pepper Grinder, Castlevania Nocturne, or Yohane? And I am still trying to get the videos out for that poll. That poll was in December. I'm learning a lot of stuff about managing, but this isn't my diary, unless it's about Metroidvanias, so peace, hang tight, drink some mango smoothies.